am Josh here back to a new Loud House review. And if y'all didn't see the last one, go and check it out. And yeah, we are back with a new reviewing of my favorite Loud House episodes. And this is another one that I enjoy from the early seasons. And yeah, it starts with Clyde showing Lincoln his perfect attendance record. Now that's actually quite impressive. Now I do know there's a lot of people. Well, I don't know anybody exactly, but I know there would be people in this world that actually do have perfect attendance, right? Like never missing a day of school or anything like that. Like that's actually very quite impressive for the people that are able to do that. And yeah, he even has this in his journal or his the school book that he has that he keeps up with everything in his when it comes to his thoughts and stuff. And yeah, just a lot of Lori part, which I just find, and just showing all these different things as well. Didn't go to school today, he saw, and then again, even having these other pictures of Lori, like yeah, him just again, this is obviously when he was still obsessed with Lori. But then he's like perfect attendance. What do you think that means? Like he thinks he's a fraud and he has to return to perfect attendance. And yeah, he goes to Principal Huggins and yeah, Principal Huggins is like, I always have time for you, some a VIP like you, and he's like, you know who won perfect attendance 30 years ago? This guy right here. Yeah, Principal Huggins is actually the one that won perfect attendance. And he's actually wanting to offer him this junior administrator job where he'll raise the flag, help Cyril, and do all these other things, even reading the school, the morning announcements. And then him even saying that Clyde could end up on this very desk one day. And we see this dream image, I guess you could say, of Clyde like Lincoln Jr. Please report to the principal's office again. And yeah, you see a picture of Lori in the background too. And yeah, he accepts the job, and he actually gets to ride to school in Principal Huggins' golf cart. And yeah, Clyde is wondering to Lincoln that was it fine if I didn't tell him? And he's like, not at all. I think you'd make a great principal. And he's like, thanks, buddy. I'll try not to be too hard on Lincoln Jr. And Lincoln is like, what? And yeah, he's raising the flag, helping the lunch lady, even with the kids in the halls as well. And also doing the morning announcements. And Cyril needs Clyde to help with all the student files, which of course this makes him worried and tells Lincoln that he's got a code butterscotch. And of course Lincoln knows what the code butterscotch is and keeps saying that he's in. And Clyde is like, wait, did you say you're in? 3 times. Yeah, they get Clyde's record, and he's like, now nobody would know that I lied about my perfect attendance. And yep, they say Norm, the janitor, and he's wondering what is Norm still doing here, and did he hear what he said? And he's like, probably not. And he knows, or he says that we got to keep Norm quiet, and he knows how to do it. And yeah, they're cleaning the toilets, and he's like, "Are you boys cleaning?" And saying that he hasn't touched this toilet since the Great Flood of 2012. And Clyde just says this thing of how I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And then they say the coach, and then wondering if Coach Pikowski heard what he said, and they're like, probably not. And then they're like, they're gonna have to keep the coach quiet, and they know how to do it. And yeah, scraping the barnacles under his boat. And of course, he's wondering, what are you doing under my boat? And then him doing the whole, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And then they say Nurse Patty, and yet again, him wondering if Nurse Patty heard what they said, and then saying that they had to keep Nurse Patty quiet about this. And yeah, they check the kids for head lice. And of course, he's confused about this, and he's like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And then Lincoln then stops him because he's like, this is the part where you get into trouble, so I'm going to stop you right here. And then, yeah, Principal Huggins brings Clyde his own golf cart, and he's like, "I heard what you did for the school, even scrubbing the coach's boat so he can get his allowance." And yeah, Clyde then confesses that his perfect attendance isn't what he thought it was. And yeah, Lincoln is wondering, what are you doing? But of course, Clyde is like, I couldn't live with the lie anymore. And yeah, Clyde then confesses to Principal Huggins that he wasn't being honest, which then Cyril actually mentions how he never actually missed a day of school because the Great Flood of 2012, that on that day where he saw that he didn't go to school today, it was actually the day of that Great Flood of 2012 that Norm was actually talking about. So yeah, his perfect attendance is all right. It's all fine. And then Principal Huggins telling Clyde that there's some cupcakes needing test in the cafeteria. And then Lincoln is like, he probably needs some assistance. But of course, he's like, back to class, loud. And yeah, Clyde just writing in his book, just saying of how everything worked out at the end. Again, really good for Clyde. I mean, yeah, I can understand him thinking that, wanting to be honest, thinking that, he didn't, even though he didn't make, or he did make the perfect attendance, right? Even though he thought he didn't deserve the perfect attendance, just because he didn't realize about the day that he didn't go to school, right? Being the flood, right? So yeah, he ended up doing perfect attendance. And like I said, that's actually quite impressive for anybody that gets perfect attendance. That has to be very impressive for everybody that has done that. But yeah, I'd like to know what y'all think. Catch you next one.